If you are new to model rocketry and you're wondering where to buy rockets and rocket supplies, this video is for you. Hey everybody, it's the Rocket Noob, and here we talk about building and flying model rockets and high power rockets. And this one is for the beginners wondering, where do you get this stuff? Whether you're just getting into this hobby yourself, or maybe you're looking to get your kids involved in an awesome STEM hobby, maybe you're a teacher or a scout leader, you gotta know where to buy rocket supplies. A few weeks ago, in a forum on Facebook, somebody asked, apart from Amazon, where do you buy rocket kits and launch equipment and supplies? And that's a good question. When I first got started in the hobby and I first started Googling where to buy model rocket stuff, a lot of the best places didn't necessarily end up at the top of the search results. Most of the results took me right to Amazon, which is where I bought this, the Estes de Red Max. This was my first model rocket. It's also where I got the ebook version of this, the Handbook of Model Rocketry by G. Harry Stein and Bill Stein. Now, you got to get this book. It is so full of information. You're going to learn a lot. So get your own copy or see if they have one in your local library. Anyway, I started out buying on Amazon. But is Amazon really the best place to buy model rockets? Well, you can certainly find model rockets on Amazon, and there are certain advantages to buying on Amazon, like if you're a Prime member, you get free shipping. Oftentimes it's very quick, 1 or 2 days. If something doesn't show up, or it shows up damaged, or maybe somebody steals it from your porch, you can usually get a refund or a replacement. Now, there are some things that I always buy on Amazon, like replacement blades for my hobby knife. If you build model rockets, you're going to go through a lot of these, and a lot of times you can find 10 packs or 15 packs of blades. You're going to overpay if you buy those. It's much better to go and buy a 100 pack or a 200 pack because you just go through these things like crazy. I'll put a link in the description to 1 or 2 bulk packs you might check out. With individual kits though, mostly I don't shop on Amazon these days. Last time I bought a kit on Amazon, it arrived with a squashed body tube, so I sent it back. And then it arrived with bent fins, so I sent that back. Now, I'm not really mad about this. I mean, being an Amazon picker is hard work. If you've never had a job like it, you really have no idea. Now, Amazon pickers don't really know the hobby. And look the way these things are packaged, you know? Most of these come in a plastic bag, and that's it. I mean, the tubes could easily get squashed. It's not a surprise to me that it might arrive damaged. So I'll turn to Amazon for things like electronics, consumer goods, books, things like that, and I'll stick with the specialists for rocketry, with one exception. Sometimes you're looking for a kit and it's been discontinued, and all of the vendors don't have it, but you might find a few of them left on Amazon. In that case, I think it's worth the risk because if it shows up and it's damaged, well, you can get your money back. There was one time I went looking for a kit and it had gone out of production, and I looked at all of the rocketry suppliers and none of them had any left, but I did find one on Amazon, and I think I got the very last one available for retail, and luckily that one arrived in good shape. So again, where's a good place to buy model rocket stuff? Well, a good place to start, if you have one nearby, would be a local hobby shop. Whether you're talking about a chain, a big box store, or especially an independent hobby shop. If you can find a hobby store that has a model rocket selection, it's really nice to be able to browse and see, like, what do the kits look like? How big are they? How much do they weigh? What are you getting? It's nice to be able to get your hands on that. Independent hobby shops are kind of a dying breed, so if you've got one near you, you definitely should go visit. The people who run those stores can help you pick the right kits and supplies for you, and they might even be able to put you in touch with other rocketeers in your area, or maybe a club that you might join or visit. But since a lot of people don't really have a good hobby store nearby, and a lot of our shopping is done online these days, I'm going to give you some good resources to buy model rockets online. Now, this list of vendors that I've personally bought from is not comprehensive by any means. It's not in order of best to worst or anything like that. It's just a good list of resources to buy model rockets. Also, we're going to stick mostly with the model rocket side of things rather than the high power rocket side of the hobby. Now, some of these vendors do carry high power rocket supplies, but there are a lot more vendors out there that specialize in high power. I'm not really going to talk about those right now because this video is for beginners who just need to know where to get started, and of course most people start with model rocketry. Maybe in another video we'll talk about high power rocketry and the difference between model rockets and high power rockets and how to get started in high power rocketry, but for right now we're just going to stick with the model rocket suppliers. Hey friends, I'm just editing this video and I realized there are a couple of things I neglected to say. The first is you can find the links to all of these vendors in the description below so you don't have to write anything down while you're watching the video. The second, if you need to refer back to this list at any time in the future, you could watch the video again if you want to, but I'm going to post a link to the entire list on my blog at rocketnoob.blogspot.com, and you just bookmark that and read it whenever you want to. All right, back to the video. You can buy Estes stuff direct at their website, EstesRockets.com. All their current catalog, including the catalog itself, which you can get for free. Rocket kits, engines, launch sets, bulk engine packs, classroom rocket bulk packs, and building supplies and more. You can also get official Estes gear like this hat or this water bottle, which it didn't always look like this. It's pretty beat up because I use it a lot. Plus t-shirts and more. Shipping is free above a certain amount, and sometimes that amount changes depending on whether or not they're having a sale. The Estes website is also the first place you can get limited edition scale models that are built to fly, like this one here, this Saturn V, premiered on the Estes website before you could find it from other vendors. There's also been the NASA SLS and Blue Origin. The Estes website is the first place you can get those. Their website also has a strong educational component, and you can download things like old catalogs and instruction sets from the site. Now, Quest is another model rocket company you should consider. Quest used to be sort of Estes' main competitor. They were very similar to Estes in a lot of ways. But now Quest is owned by Aerotech, so it's a little different than it used to be. Aerotech makes composite rocket motors, including really big, high-power motors. And here's one. This is an I motor. Now, this is by far not even the largest one they make, but if you compare it with this little Estes engine, you can see they get quite big. So now Quest, while they have kits of varying sizes, just like Estes, they also have their own line of composite rocket motors, like this one, sized for model rockets. These are called Q-Jets, and they're a lot of fun. Now, if you're just starting out, I suggest you start with Estes engines like this one because they're very simple and they're easy to use. They're very basic. But once you've got some experience flying, I suggest you add some Q-Jets to your range box because having both to play around with gives you a lot of options. Now, Apogee was the first website I found and bought stuff from that wasn't Amazon. And I just bought some body tubes like this one, just replacement body tubes. Now, nowadays, if I were buying something small like that, I'd probably go elsewhere because for a small order, the shipping was a little expensive. But Apogee is known for excellent customer service, and they have tons of kits, motors, and certain specialty products you can only get from Apogee. They've also got this great e-newsletter that's full of information. And their website has a full archive of their e-newsletter, and you could browse that archive for hours and learn tons of stuff. I'm going to put a link to their website, which you should definitely check out, as well as their YouTube channel. JonRocket was an early favorite of mine. In addition to kits from just about every manufacturer, they also have parts. All the parts you need, really, as well as supplies. I started buying a ton of parts from them when I started designing my own rockets and building rockets that weren't kits. Tubes, nose cones, centering rings, they had whatever I needed, really. I used to go on there every day and check them out. Shipping is free over $50, and every dollar you spend at JonRocket gets you rewards points, which is kind of like cash back that you can use on future purchases. All right, now nobody is sponsoring this video, but eRockets is the sponsor for my podcast, The Model Rocket Show, at themodelrocketshow.com. So full disclosure there. eRockets is an excellent vendor with great customer service, and they produce the Semrock line of model rockets. Semrock kits are a lot of fun to build, they look great, and the parts are really good quality. This is one of my Semrock kits. This is called the Cherokee D. This is a reproduction of a classic Estes kit that they don't make anymore. It's quite nice. I like it. It's very pretty. It was a lot of fun to build. Here is another one. This is I don't think they currently make this one. This was the Bandits. This is, again, a reproduction of a classic Estes kit. Really nice, high-quality parts. Balsa nose cone, which you don't often get these days. Has a little payload section with that little balsa. That's called a nose block. And that turns this upper section into a payload, so I could put an altimeter in there. If you're on the website and you see that something's out of stock but you want it, send their owner Randy an email because a lot of times they produce things in-house and you can get what you want without too much delay. eRockets also carries one-of-a-kind tools, plus finishing supplies and airbrush paint if you have an airbrush. And they carry kits from tons of manufacturers. Estes and Quest, of course, but also Aerotech, ASP, Custom Model Rockets, Dr. Zooch, Schrockets, New Way, they build square rockets, North Coast Rocketry, Rocketarium, Auto Rockets, Mad Cow, Lock Precision. You probably didn't know that there were that many. So ASP has a lot of what you might find at other vendors, like kits and motors and things like that, but they specialize in a few areas: scale model rockets and competition model rockets. You can get kits specifically geared toward getting started in various NAR competition events. They also have a series of their own scale models, meaning that sometimes you'll find a rocket in 3 different sizes, which can fly on anything from tiny little mini motors up to big F or G, sometimes even H or I high power motors. I particularly like ASP for specialty parts like extra long body tubes or high quality turned balsa nose cones or transitions. I really like their colorful nylon parachutes, which are very high quality but quite affordable and come in all different sizes. Okay, you gotta know about AC Supply. AC Supply sells a lot of STEM education products, like robotics and electronics kits, and even Pinewood Derby cars for scouting. The reason I like them so much, though, is that they are an Estes wholesaler, which means you can get pretty much anything Estes for 40% off. And if you spend over $100, shipping is free. I like to buy from them if I need a whole bunch of stuff at once, like bulk packs on motors or a bunch of rockets at once. I always save up and spend over $100 so I can get the free shipping. Now this can be a good way of dealing with a hazmat fee. A hazmat fee is a single fee you pay when you buy rocket motors with 30 grams of propellant or more. They can only be shipped ground via UPS here in the United States. The current fee I think is about $37, and it applies to a lot of E, F, and G motors. Now there are exceptions to this, but with Estes engines, all of their E, F, and G motors incur the fee. But it's a single fee, meaning if you bought a single F26 engine like this one from Estes, you would pay shipping plus a $37 hazmat fee, and that's ridiculous for one motor. Don't ever do that. That's too much. There are a number of ways of making a hazmat fee less painful or not even having to pay one at all, which we'll talk about in another video. But if you're buying online and you need some Estes engines, then let's say you buy a bunch of them, like 25 or more. You buy in bulk like that, you're easily going to go over the minimum for free shipping. And however many engines you buy, you're dividing the hazmat fee into that many portions. So if you bought 25 motors, then that's $1.48 per engine. Since everything's already 40% off, that means you are getting a pretty good deal because essentially you're just paying $1.48 for shipping of each engine, or bulk pack or multi-pack of 2 or 3. And of course, the more motors you buy, the less the hazmat fee costs per motor. So you can see how if you can buy a bunch at once, that's an advantage. Now, I've probably bought more stuff at AC Supply than anywhere else. Incidentally, you may have noticed that sometimes I say engines and sometimes I say motors, and I'm talking about the same thing. The little thing that makes the rocket go up. Estes calls them engines. A lot of people call them motors. It doesn't really matter what you call them. I'm talking about the same thing. Maybe in a future video we'll talk about the difference between engine and motor. Just for now, know that I'm talking about the same thing. All right, before we move on to the next rocket vendor, if you are getting value from this video, please hit the thumbs up button and hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel reach more people, and I really appreciate it. Belleville is a vendor I really should look at more often because, like AC Supply, they are a discounted rocket vendor, but they also have other brands. They carry Estes rockets, of course, but they also carry custom model rockets and Quest Aerospace. Now here's a really good example of something from Quest you could get at Belleville. This big, beautiful rocket is a cluster rocket. It's called the Quad Runner, and a cluster uses more than one engine in parallel at the same time. The Quad Runner, let me see if I can get this to focus for you, uses 4 motors at the same time, meaning it produces a lot more thrust, a lot more smoke, a lot more flame. It's a lot of fun. It's a big, beautiful rocket. At retail, it's a little expensive, but you can get one of these for pretty cheap at Belleville. Now, I've only actually bought from Belleville once or twice. I buy a lot of rocket stuff, so, you know, I've kind of spread the love around. But I got excellent customer service both times I shopped from them. All right, like a lot of these vendors, Buy Rocket Motors does sell kits, but their specialty is composite rocket motors and rocket motor accessories from Aerotech. These range from small model rocket motors from both Aerotech and Quest to large high power motors. You can get reloadable motor casings, delay drilling tools, and propellant refills, as well as single-use engines from little tiny A motors up to big M high power motors. Now, if you're a beginner, you may not know what I mean by an M motor, but they're big, they're huge, and they're very powerful. BRM also sometimes runs specials on either a Lock Precision kit or an Aerotech kit, plus a refillable motor casing. So it could be a good idea to get on their email list. I almost didn't include North Coast Rocketry in this video, and it's not because I forgot about them. I love them, they're great. The reason is that they used to mainly sell through other vendors, and their website was mostly a catalog. But now they actually sell through their website. It's a fully functioning web store, and they have certain things you can only get through North Coast. NCR makes beautiful big mid-power kits, as well as some special tools created by their owner, Matt Steele. Now, Matt's a great guy, and he'll give you great customer service. Now, North Coast makes larger mid-power kits, and here's one of my favorites. I'm not going to be able to fit this all in the frame at once, I don't think. This is the SA-14 Archer. I had to move way back for you to see it. It's 2.6 inches in diameter, and it's a beautiful kit. This one is nice. It has large plywood fins, and this is a model rocket, meaning you can fly it without needing any kind of special certification or clearance from the FAA. It's a model rocket. But if you build it correctly, you could fly one of these on a 29mm H or I high power motor, which means you could do a certification flight for one if you wanted to get your high power level 1, which we'll talk about in another video. Now, Estes used to make, I've got one here, Estes used to make these nice, beautiful kits with plywood fins and centering rings and 29mm motors, and oh, there's a motor in there right now. And you know, they were beautiful, and they, for various reasons, they stopped making them a while ago, and a lot of us were kind of sad that they stopped doing that. But I think the North Coast Rockets are a pretty good substitute for those Estes kits. I mean, they're about the same size, they're well built, they're well designed, and they're about a similar price point. So I think they're a nice substitution for those old Estes plywood kits. North Coast is also the U.S. distributor of the Adrel altimeter. This is a teeny tiny little electronic altimeter that'll tell you how high your rocket went. What's special about the Adrel is it's the smallest, most lightweight one on the market because it's used for international competition rocketry. If you're looking for something a little different, produced by a small manufacturer, FlisKits is definitely worth a look. They've got some funny looking odd rocks, some teeny tiny scale models, some complex sci-fi models, and great cluster rockets with canted motor tubes, meaning the smoke and flame comes out at an angle, making for a really awesome show. Some of the rockets are perfect for beginners, whereas others are more advanced for builders who've been building a while. Alright, let me show you one of my FlisKits, and again, I have to try and fit this into my limited space here. This is my FlisKits rocket. Take the stand off. This is called a tray. You can see it's quite big. It's a 3-motor cluster. Let me get to see if you can focus on this. So it's got 3 motor tubes, and they're canted, so the jets of smoke and flame come out at an angle. And I got to tell you, watching these at a launch, they're very beautiful. These are a lot of fun to watch them fly. Very fun to build, and you know, a challenge, but not that hard. Now, you can buy FlisKits at a lot of the vendors I've already mentioned here, but I know the owners and the great people, so I really wanted to mention them. All right, here's one that I've never actually purchased from myself, and I know that I'm missing out because they get a lot of love from the rocketry community, and that is Balsa Machining Service. As the name implies, Balsa Machining Service specializes in machined balsa parts like high-quality nose cones and tail cones and things like that. That's their main stock and trade. They also sell lots of motors, from little A motors all the way up through high power motors. And their school rocket is a kit, and it's the most economical kit on the market, whether you buy 1 or 50. So if you've got like a classroom you need to supply with rockets, or a scout troop, or anywhere you need a bunch of rockets on a budget, that's one to look at. Again, I've never personally bought from them, but I've always got them bookmarked, and they've got such a good reputation, I really had to mention them. And of course, you can always get some good deals on eBay. If you're looking for an out-of-production kit, or maybe some reloadable motor hardware at a bargain price, eBay is worth a look. You do want to beware of overpaying for an old kit. Sometimes things are sold as collector's items, and maybe they are, but the prices can get a little extreme. You don't want to go and pay for some out-of-production Estes kit and pay $250 for it, and then 2 months later, Estes decides to reissue it for $25. And of course, always go with sellers with good ratings. And with rockets, I would recommend going with sellers who specialize in rocketry. Sometimes you get people who will sell all kinds of different things, and maybe occasionally they'll pick up a model rocket kit and sell it. And sometimes they don't know how to package model rockets safely, and maybe they get squashed in transit. I've seen that happen before. So I would really stick with the people who sell rockets regularly. There are a few things I bought on eBay that I'm pretty happy about. I got a number of these. Now this, again, is a big kit. This is an Estes kit. They don't make them anymore. This is a D-Region Tomahawk. It's a scale model sounding rocket, and it's beautiful. And I managed to get a few of these at a decent price, even though they're out of production. I got some Aerotech high-power hardware, as well as some Cesaroni high-power motor hardware, and I got these at less than retail. I bought a couple of these. This is a cheap little video camera, and this I taped to the side of the rocket. Now, this does not record great video, but it was $6, and I can tape this to the side of a rocket, and I can get actual video from the point of view of the rocket with this thing. This cost me $6. I even got this. This is a little blast deflector and a rod holder that I can actually attach to a camera tripod. So instead of getting down on my knees in the mud to set up my little Estes launch pad, I have a launch pad that is now up on a camera tripod, and I can launch rockets from that, and it's great. Sometimes you can find these little one-off products that someone has made on eBay, and they're pretty great. I had to break the eBay habit a while back. I was winning too many auctions, and it was starting to get expensive because I was getting too many bargains. Still, I do check them from time to time because I've got a few things on my wish list, and if I can get them at eBay for a good price, well, I will. Well, that's my list. Did I miss your favorite? If so, leave a note in the comments and let us know about them so we can check them out. As always, build well, fly safe. Catch you next time.